Hi, welcome back to the channel. This is part 4 of my first canoe build. So yesterday I started making progress. Started laying strips on these canoe station molds, starting at the gunnel. Now I'm working my way up towards the bottom of the boat. Have approximately 6 strips laid so far. Leading into yesterday's commencement of laying the strips, I had some outstanding work to do in terms of the stem forms, both bow and stern. I needed to shave the bow and stern come to a point. This is a symmetrical boat, so both bow and stern, it's the same shape on both ends of the boat. So the canoe station molds, when you have a square surface, the strips leading on the side of the canoe station molds need to be able to receive a stapling surface area on those bow and stem surfaces. So that's what I did. I used a rasp and I actually shaped it down to a receiving surface area, and then also placed tape alongside these station molds, because as you see the stripping process continues, the glue will actually adhere to these station molds, and then when this process is done, it's important that this tape is here because you have to take the boat off. And that's difficult to do if you're actually glued to another wood surface here. So that's what the tape is for. Stem forms are done. Cedar strips are actually in progress. 6 rows, like I said. So we're starting to make progress here. It's a lot of fun. Having a great time with this. Again, if you like watching these videos, please subscribe. Leave a comment if you have any questions. I'm not an expert, but certainly I'm learning a lot as I go. Everybody that I've talked to about canoe building and has completed several boats always tells me you're going to learn a lot from your first canoe build, and you know, that's true. There's a lot of truth to that. So I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and again, subscribe if you'd like and leave a comment. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm kind of at a stopping point right now. I've used all my strips for the most part. I still have some strips that have twisted and bent and are extremely knotty, and I have elected not to use them. I thought I could salvage them when I was originally processing that wood, but I'm just not going to do that. So I've used all the strips that I can up to this point. Gonna have to set up my table saw and my router again and process all those strips again. So this time I'm just gonna make extras, and whatever I don't use, I'll use them for the next project if there happens to be one, which I hope there will. So behind me is the progress that I've made up to this point on both sides of the boat. Had to make some adjustments along the way too, per discussions with some people on forums, and some valuable advice and tips. I have started to use them. Originally, when I started laying the strips on the Canoe, I wasn't getting the appearance and the tightness of the joints that I wanted. And you think you just lay strips up on a Canoe, and really it should be that easy. This is not a kit boat, so when you order a kit boat, all of the parts come ready to go. So if I have any errors, which I've checked and double checked, it makes it difficult. So I don't think I do, but I probably do. Even minor errors create some difficulties with the alignment of the strip. So I had that on the first 6 strips that I laid, and now I'm up to about, I don't know, 20 or so. And originally, when I started laying the strips, I was also stapling with a staple horizontal. So the curvature of the forms is like this, and you know, it's more a natural motion with a staple gun, but that's not how it's supposed to be done. And Jim Dodd mentioned that to me. He's built several boats and provided some decent advice on that the staple should be vertical. And everywhere you look after the fact, yeah, you look at a bunch of pictures, everybody staples it vertical. It's just something I missed. So, and then also butt joining, which is just butt joining 2 of the strips together, because I'm not working with full length strips on this Canoe. This is a 16-foot Canoe, and I'm dealing with a lot of shorter pieces as well, because I'm eliminating the problem knots of the strips. So I don't have a 16-foot usable or longer piece. So most of them, the longest piece I have is 8. So, and then when I cut out the troubled areas of the strips that I don't want to use, I have even shorter strips. So there's a lot of butt joints where they're butting right up to each other. So again, some advice from the forum provided that use a clamp like this, and then with the inner tube attached to this end, and it loops in the middle. It's kind of like a bandy clamp. With plastic tubing that would sit on the bottom side of the cove right here and apply pressure in the downward motion to get a tightness of a joint. I haven't done that either yet, but I fully intend to. In the meantime, the best thing I could come up with to get tighter joints was using the beaded cove edge. Here, I ripped off a little piece of a scrap piece, and I'm using that. And there's 2 purposes here: tightness of the joints, and then as well as protecting the cove to support the build and the tightness of the layup of the strips on the way through. Also, another adjustment that I needed to make throughout this build so far was that, due to the fact that I ripped these strips with the beading cove, the cove edge, for me anyway, left a real paper thin debris. So when I originally started laying them, there was some interference with those burrs. So as I continued up, probably about to the 8th strip or so, I started removing that with a lightly sanding technique. So with all of these adjustments, the build is going much better, and the sanding has helped. The stapling orientation has certainly helped. I also adjusted the amount of glue that I'm using. Very, very light bead of glue is all that's required, and I was pouring it on pretty heavy at the beginning there and making a mess. And so again, with it being my first canoe build and being told that you're going to learn a ton, well, I certainly have, and I'm all ears to the people that have experience with this and have successfully built several boats. I certainly appreciate that advice. It's made a big difference with my progress today, especially. Unfortunately, like I mentioned, I'm up against a stopping point. So let me show you here. You can see the vertical staples, and the form is rounded, right? So all of these strips are now curving in this direction. When I started, I went horizontal. That's not what you want to do. You want to go vertical. And I thank you, Jim Dodd, for letting me know that. I randomly did it a few times, but it certainly wasn't the practice that I was going to use regularly, and I should have maybe understood that a little bit more. So anyway, hey, you know, the boat's taking shape here big time.